at the same time we made the production deal on Taxi Driver, we made a development deal with Columbia for Close Encounters. And we went through a couple of attempts by different writers, including Paul Schrader, to write it. And then Spielberg, said, well, this is not coming together. I got a chance to do this movie about a shark, and what do you think? And I said, yeah, go, it'd be great. So he went off to do Jaws, and I would bring him writers in Martha's Vineyard. And ultimately, and fortunately, Steven said, I have to write this myself. And he did, because it had been with him, the germ of it, since childhood. And he had so many, his ideas, we could almost not articulate them. He would bubble with saying, there'll be cuboids coming from here. But the spirit of it was quintessentially Steven, and I'm glad he wrote it. In a lot of ways, I think it's his most personal and could argue his best film in certain ways.
Well, it was great that it was a genre science fiction film, yet it really delved into the family dynamics that were going on with Richard Dreyfuss and Terry Garr. And
that's Steven's talent, is he brings it down to, he makes it real. He gets real people. By the time Steven was available to do Close Encounters, there was no saying no to him, because he had made the most successful film of all time. Columbia Pictures was on the brink of bankruptcy. They bet the farm on this film. And, people could say, Steven Spielberg, UFOs, I could see that being visually exciting. And so it was kind of the opposite of Taxi Driver. Instead of being an orphan, it was like the whole crown jewels of the studio, but the pressure was unrealistically, unbelievably intense. There were bankers on the set. There were, it was just so precarious.
because they were going through such financial problems, Columbia Pictures, did they make you kind of deliver a preliminary budget to kind of guarantee what you were going to spend?
The budget process, well, it's a dance, and everybody postures, can't have more than this, and then the director says, well, you have to, or this. But in the end, if they really wanted to bet the farm, bet the future of the studio on a Steven Spielberg film, they had to give him what he needed, what he wanted. And so the pressure was always on, but fortunately they ultimately said yes to the vision. And the budget kept going up, and every day it was a drama and hair pulling out, and it went from 17 million, it came in at 19. So it's not the crime of the century, but you would have thought it was by the way, the way everybody was freaking out over this. In Hollywood, which loves catastrophe on someone else's shoulders, was buzzing around with rumors, oh, it's a disaster. In fact, one of the perverse pleasures I got out of the film was that we held a preliminary screening, the first cut of the film, in Dallas, and kept journalists out. And then New York Magazine published a review of the film, unfinished film, because the writer wanted to jump the gun and be a hero, and it was, and he panned it. He said it's going to be a colossal flop. It's terrible, which was odd because the audience was loving it in the theater. But it was great to see him eat his words.
Did you guys always have in mind to have Richard Dreyfuss for the lead role?
No. Steve McQueen was actually Steven's first choice. I turned it down. No, that idea floated around, but ultimately I'm glad we don't have a superhero in the role. a nice, ordinary-sized guy with ordinary problems. I said before, you go in with a vision and you think you're right, and then something comes along that's the antithesis of what you were saying or thinking, and it turns out to be better, or to be a lucky break.
And screenplays are almost like a foundation to build upon. And, once a director comes in, and that's another element.
He has to bring something new, or, if he can bring something that you haven't thought of and put into the script or with the writer, then he's not contributing more than executing.
And in post, were the special effects challenging, or did they come together as everybody had envisioned, or?
New terrain, a lot of new terrain. We were advancing the state of the art in a lot of areas, and so a lot of equipment we had to build and techniques we had to develop through trial and error. But in the end, if you look, you can't show as much, you couldn't show as much then as you can today, because the effects don't stand up under a lot of scrutiny.
What's interesting is a lot of things are almost inferred with the light coming into the house, and there's the small boy looking up
just hints
at it. So
he just gives you a hint, a suggestion. A little less is more. I know that one of the things he told me, told everybody, I guess, when he started Jaws, was he was asked about directing, he said, yeah, but only if I can not have to show the shark until halfway through the film. And everybody said, what? That's not the book. But he likes to tease, and he knows how to do it. So, and also the effects weren't so advanced, as I was saying, that you could linger on them, just little glimpses.
So when you hire a director and the director starts working on that first day of shooting, do you like to sort of take a step back, or do you kind of go in and give him notes, or kind of oversee what that director may be doing if you're concerned about a particular problem?
Every time around it's different. I think a producer's role is like an accordion. It depends on who the director is, what your relationship is, what his strengths or what you can contribute. And sometimes the director needs very little from you, and sometimes it's good. They need support or encouragement or ideas. And I believe it's good to just be on the set all the time, because even if you only spot one or two things during the shooting day, at the end of the shoot, that's 100 little things that could, that's a contribution.